Welcome all to our channel, the Tellers Guild. Let's start with our storytelling session. It was a dark and stormy night, and Sarah was driving down a desolate road in the middle of nowhere. She had been traveling for hours and was tired and anxious to get to her destination. Suddenly, her car started to sputter, and she knew she was out of gas. Sarah got out of her car and looked around. There wasn't a gas station in sight, but she did see a dim light in the distance. She started walking towards it, hoping to find some help. As she got closer, she realized that the light was coming from an old, run-down house. The windows were broken, and the paint was peeling off the walls. But Sarah had no other choice, so she walked up to the front door and knocked. To her surprise, the door creaked open on its own. Sarah hesitated for a moment but then stepped inside. The house was dark and eerie, and the air was thick with the smell of decay. As she walked through the house, Sarah heard strange noises coming from upstairs. She tried to ignore them and focus on finding a phone or some help. But the further she went, the louder the noises became. Suddenly, Sarah heard a blood-curdling scream. She froze in terror, unsure of what to do. Then she heard footsteps coming towards her, and she turned to run. But before she could escape, she was grabbed from behind and pulled into a dark room. Sarah's heart raced as she looked around the room. It was filled with bones and human remains, and she realized that she had stumbled into a serial killer's lair. She tried to scream, but the killer covered her mouth and whispered in her ear, "You're not going anywhere." Days turned into weeks, and Sarah was held captive in the killer's lair. He tortured her relentlessly, and she knew that she would never escape. She became addicted to the fear and pain, unable to imagine life without them. Years later, the killer was finally caught and Sarah was rescued. But she could never forget the addictive horror that had consumed her, and she spent the rest of her life haunted by the memories of her captivity. Thank you all for supporting and listening a beautiful horror story of ours. Let's meet in another awesome storytelling video. Till then, goodbye!